The catch was, since we were going all out with this record, you know, the first record that has been intentionally built with radio in mind, and with you know, just a certain sound. We like to do things ourselves. We record ourselves at home, or we'll go into small friend studios. Like Bradley's got a studio that I cut my record Perfect World at, and it's nice to work with your buddies that you can just hang out with and make your music. And then going into Levon's place for this record, it was all about dressing up some of these songs. Because like I told Diesel earlier, sometimes you write a song intentionally, you take away all the song gimmicks out of it, and you wonder if people are still going to get that it's a song, you know, and you hope they do. You just take all the bells and whistles off and then see if they still get that that's a song. But with this record, we intentionally set out to make sure that they knew that these were songs and that, you know, they were fully produced and arranged. But at the end of the day, I wanted to close out the album with just a guitar. I got to play a 23 Martin on Stumbling Stone on that record. My buddy Sandman brought his 1923 Martin acoustic, and which is the year Hank was born. Hank Sr. was born in 23. So if that puts it all into perspective. I mean, that seems like ancient Egypt, you know. I mean, but so I got to close out the album just me sitting alone in a booth in that barn and playing that 23 Martin, and it was quite a special experience, quite a cool thing. And I appreciate that the Womacs joined me on that, you know. We loaded my 14-year-old son up the first time and brought him with us in the van. He plays keys, so he got to hang out with Garth, and Garth showed him some stuff. And he has since done, you know, an English presentation. They were actually, I guess it was Music Appreciation or something, they were talking about folk rock and when it was making the transition. And the teacher knew that Chase had been to Woodstock and hung with Garth and all that. So I said, you know, hey, would you like to give a presentation? But, yeah, this was a very family-based thing, a very close-knit thing. The second time that I went back, it was just me and Tony and Jules, and we went back for overdubs and hung out, and, yeah, real family-oriented. That's why we wanted to come here, because I would rather play for a room full in this room than a room full in any of the venues around here that you might be reaching more ears, but they're not these ears that have been with you for some years, you know. And, yeah. So thank you to Jay and Tammy for having a place like this. I mean, we travel all over the place, and you don't find it. You just don't find it. There are. I could count on one hand the people that would remind me, that would even start to remind me of you guys, that I think, oh, you guys should know these people. You should know the Costers in Charlotte, you know, because they put up Childers when he comes through, and, you know, like, you guys should know some of these other people, but I could count them on one hand. And if they walked into this place and saw the shrine to music that you've assembled here, they would never leave here, you know? That's right, that's right. So, thank you guys for letting us join you. Thanks for letting us bust into your house. These guys got a cake made that says Last Bird Home, Chris Castle. We got a cake for the release, you know? That's great. And that suddenly makes me feel like the guy who says, hey, I'm going to have a wedding. I'd love for you to be in it, you know. Well, now you got to rent a tux, you know. But it's one of those things where it's like, hey, man, I'd love to bring this here. And then they go out and get a cake and go all overboard. But thank you for always treating me like one of your own, and always treating my people like your people, like I said. And, yeah, for helping me along over the years, you know. It's just been a wild handful of years. And I don't know what happens after this, you know.
Just wish
but
I would have been there during those Leon Helms recordings.
Well,
we just missed it by a day.
Yeah, we really did. We
Just
really
one
did.
day.
You guys were there for Ray Weiland.
I can only imagine.
But,
Loved that. What a vibe that was in that place.
well, you know, the best story of the session was Gabriel Butterfield was going to play drums on Dirty Water and Trees Fall Every Day. And he's a blues drummer. His father was Paul Butterfield. Of course, the guy plays blues, and he's a real good blues drummer. But he's a blues drummer and heavy-handed. And we'd cut Dirty Water. It was great. We'd get around to Trees Fall Every Day. It just wasn't happening. And, I mean, you'll have that sometimes. You get into a studio, and it's just not happening no matter what you do. So we tried it over and over, a bunch of different ways. It just wasn't happening. So I said, well, that was the take. That's the one. That's a keeper. Let's do lunch. That's one of those tricks I learned in Nashville from those older guys. Just say it's great and we're going to do lunch. And then once everybody goes to lunch, you run out and you grab Webb and say, hey, brother, get behind this drum set, man. Because we got to cut this shit right. Because Butterfield can't come back while we're tracking this. After the fact, it's business, man. And then you say, hey, look, man, it just didn't work out. We retracked it. While it's going down, you don't want to do that. So Tommy Ramone shows up, you know, and we're ready to track Trees Fall every day. We say, all right, yeah, we're going. Everybody's going to lunch. All right, everybody's gone. Cool, let's track this thing. In the booth with Tommy. Tommy gets all tuned up. He's got his mandolin ready. And we hear a car. It's Butterfield. So then I say, oh, somebody has to stop Butterfield at the door, man. And we're all, hey, Tommy, get out of the booth, man. Come on. So we're dragging Tommy. This guy, I mean, this is the only, you know, he's a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. He's a Lifetime Achievement Grammy Award winner, Tommy Ramone. This is, when he was a teenager, he was the assistant engineer on Band of Gypsies, the Hendrix record. Like before the Ramones or any of that, you know? So, that was the funniest part of the recording process, was the day that we had to throw Tommy into the booth and then be like, all right, Ramone, out of the booth. And then back in the booth, man, it's time, really, for real this time. And, oh, we're not ready for it yet. We got to get a mix here, you know? And then, oh, back in. And he didn't know what was going on. So I'm cracking up the whole time. These guys are cracking up the whole time. We're the only ones really that know what's going on. Finally, the photographer takes Gabe out to the lake and is getting some really good shots. And while he does that, we got the take. And Corey got the take the second time through. Like, we went for one pass, it didn't work. Take two, there it was. You know, the one that's on the record is the one that we took frantically while Gabe was out by the lake. And then once we were done, Tommy kind of knew what was going on once all was said and done. But I had to pull him aside and say, look, man, here's why we kept throwing you into the booth and pulling you out. No disrespect, you know. I mean, this guy's a living legend, and he's a great guy. But he was a good sport about it, and once he found out what was going on, he thought it was freaking hilarious. You know, so yeah, that's one I probably won't share with a lot of people, you know. You know, I mean, Gabriel's a great guy and a great drummer, but when something doesn't fit, it just doesn't fit, you know. And I even talked it over with Justin Gwip, the engineer, and with Larry Campbell, and I said to Larry, you know, well, how do you handle this when you have someone that you really respect and you dig? They're your friend, and they've played something that you can't keep on a record. He said, man, you just don't keep it on the record, you know, I mean, and you explain it to them later, and, you know, I mean, he did a great job. I mean, when you guys hear the recorded versions of these things, Dirty Water is Gabriel through and through, and I mean, you can hear that is a blues drummer through and through on that track, and it fits it to a T. It's exactly what I had in mind when I was writing it, and it was a nice addition to the session for sure. Plus a lot of great Butterfield stories. So you know, you can't go wrong there. But would you guys feel like playing a couple more? I mean, it's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.